Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. CNBC-TV18, Hindustan Unilever Limited present L.I.M.E Season 15.
Well, Hindustan Unilever, celebrated as India's FMCG powerhouse, takes pride in curating an expansive portfolio of over 50 beloved brands that have seamlessly integrated into the daily rituals of countless Indian consumers. Driven by a profound sense of purpose and forward-looking strategies, HUL embodies profitability, consumer centricity, and a legacy of brands that touch the lives of millions every single day. With a history spanning 90 years, Hindustan Unilever has played a pivotal role in India's economic growth story, leaving a very positive social impact on its customers, shareholders, and communities. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, a very warm welcome to the grand finale of HUL and CNBC-TV18 present L.I.M.E Season 15. To kickstart what is set to be an exhilarating evening and to talk about how HUL has been gearing up to ace the next decade and inspire us all with their vision of a future-ready business, we have with us the man himself, Mr. Rohit Jawa, President Unilever South Asia and CEO and MD HUL. We also have Shereen Bhan, Managing Editor CNBC-TV18 at the event today. May I request you both to please come on the stage for a fireside chat.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an absolute privilege and pleasure to be back here at the HUL campus for this latest edition of Lessons in Marketing Excellence. Well, Rohit, let's talk about the road ahead and the way forward. As Mugdha just said, it's a 90-year legacy that you take forward, and so much has changed, not just at HUL, but around HUL as well, specifically the Indian economy, with the kind of reforms that we've seen over the past 3 decades and where we currently find ourselves. What does the HUL of tomorrow signify to you? What does the HUL of tomorrow mean to you in terms of growth engines that will drive it?
Yeah, I think, I've been reflecting deeply in the last 7-8 months that I've been in this role and really understand now the business intimately. I've been around the country. I've observed India. I've met our customers, our consumers in various parts. And having seen other markets in my last two decades, especially Southeast Asia and North Asia, like China, I can tell you that the India is where perhaps one of these great tiger economies or China was 10, 15 years ago. We are poised to break through. We see that, I smell it in the entrepreneurial energy in the market. I smell it in the consumer's aspiration. And 3 big things that I feel are dramatically transforming India, which we need to recognize as a company who's been here 90 years. Number 1 is India is getting richer, more prosperous. The top mass affluent or middle class and above will have doubled in the last 5 years, will double again. Second big driver of growth is digitization, and we'll talk more about that today.
Yeah.
But it's democratized India. I know ONDC is going to democratize digi-commerce, but the India tech stack has changed in India. It's unlike any other country in the world, including China. So I think what we're seeing here is pioneering. It is transformational. It's changing how we do business. And I think still we got to recognize that this is a vast country, 1.4 billion people. We have to be responsible towards our communities, towards our environment. And no better company than Hindustan Unilever, because our mission is what's good for India is good for HUL. So we got to always start from that place. But we got to keep that in mind, that it has to be positive impact as we grow to a very, very powerful market and an economy in the next decade or so.
But let's address the beauty aspiration, digital beauty brands and that entire aspect. How much of this is largely going to be driven by organic growth? How much of it is going to be driven by inorganic growth? What looks exciting to you at this point in time in terms of the kind of D2C explosion that we are seeing? What will be the sort of laser focus that you intend to go after?
We are the skin care or beauty care market leader, both with colors and in skincare. But as the market evolves, as consumers, and we already know, increase their regime, use more than one stage in usage, the market premiumizes. We start to see new demand spaces. It goes beyond brightening, tone management, to anti-aging, to hydration, to sun care, and so on and so forth. And we've seen this journey in other markets. So it's not that it's new. And I think as far as digital brands are concerned, they are digital in the sense that digital first,
Yes.
not digital only.
Yes.
They have to go beyond D2C platforms to the marketplaces, and then they have to go to big stores and pharmacy and offline, and we know that game.
Yeah.
We're there.
But what's been the big lesson and the learning as you now foray into this digital first space, as you build customers across digital platforms, as you build resilience and relevance across this? What's been the big lesson and the learning, or the unlearning, if I may?
The way marketing is done is really dramatically transformed. And this is an example of how it's transformed. So in the last 2-3 years that we ran the premium business, beauty business unit. We've learned in order for us to test concepts, we have now an agile innovation lab where we are able to scan ideas quickly, use machine AI to build concepts, have them checked, simulated, check where is the highest level of opportunity, craft through our R&D labs, which is in this complex, small batches, test them out with consumers, find the product, market fit, start then getting consumers, acquiring them, scaling them, get to a level where we feel, okay, now this is being loved and it's getting repeat rates that meets a scalable next level, and then take that, cross the filter and go to the next level, other e-commerce platforms. And before you know, you have a few hundred crores worth of business.
When we talk about technology, we talk about AI, digitization, and so on and so forth. Internally, within the organization, where do you believe things currently stand? How much has the needle moved in terms of digital adoption, in terms of AI adoption? And externally, from a customer-facing perspective, what do you believe that could lead to over the next 5 years, for instance? And, beyond cost optimization, because that's the sort of bread and butter aspect of tech adoption. In terms of innovation, how are you looking at it?
So the way we see digitization is that it's basically got to do one of three things: got to drive growth, reduce cost, or improve our capabilities, right? So at a high level. And we have been on the journey we call Reimagine HUL for several years now. And we see them basically in three different parts. There's the operations or supply chain, where digitization has a big role to play, and I'll give you a couple of proof points. It's in the area of our customers, so how we go to market. Shikhar, an example, which is our B2B app, and I'll speak to that in a minute. And then, of course, our consumer, which is the question you asked, and I just talked about how we are, for instance, creating products, but also selling products on digital commerce and all of the data signals that we get from there. So we're working across these three broad domains. And to give you a few examples to bring this to life, for instance, on supply chain, we have now many use cases that we believe are creating huge value. For instance, we are able to do digital twins of our factories. So sitting in this complex, we can already model how to improve productivity of our plants across the country. We have now AI signals for our demand forecasting. So we don't need human intervention. We can, in fact, they forecast better. We're using that even in our financial. In fact, just a while back before coming here, we're discussing how to do financial forecasts using machine learning and AI. So a whole lot of part of our operations, including enterprise dashboards, are all being done. I would say we're pretty mature in this space. And when it comes to consumers, just the process of creating brands, concept testing, all of that is speeding now. And on e-commerce and digital commerce is already the fastest growing channel for us. And we are gaining competitiveness there, and that's going to be clearly a place that we want to lean in on, because that is going to grow and will more than double what it's today as contribution to our business easily, I believe, in the next 5-10 years. So I would say that, and all of this data, we have a very strong backend around cybersecurity, data governance, making sure that it's protected, it's within the legal parameters, which is also equally important. So it's a holistic program that's going to get stronger and will become, and is becoming, a competitive mode.
CNBC-TV18, Hindustan Unilever Limited present L.I.M.E Season 15.
On the food side, because that's the other mega trend and other focus area that you spoke of, what's the aspiration over the next 5 years? What is it that you would like this business to be? What is it the role that you see HUL playing in this space?
So food and refreshment division is in our case already a sizable part of our business. And it's made up of mega categories that we've been at it for a long time. We understand it. Tea, excellence. We are excellent at that business. Long history and heritage. We have acquired a massive business in HFD. And functional drinks, we are getting very good at it as well. And we understand it's bang in the center of what India needs. So we already have with coffee as well as strong beverages and functional food business. So the first thing, of course, is for us to continue to grow that. The meta point is that in foods, it's massive category. It's huge. It's 2/3 of consumers' basket. It's going to be even bigger. So our intention is not to do everything. We are going to be focused on things where we can add value, where our brands have a role to play, and that fit the Unilever's, HUL's, what's good for India is good for HUL. So the nutrition mission.
You know, we're living in an uncertain world, and it has increasingly got more complex. I mean, you know, dealing with commodity inflation was one thing, but now you have to deal with supply chain disruptions, with the possibility of enhanced supply chain disruptions, geopolitical tensions, and what have you. So, what, you know, do you still do 5-year plans? Do you do 3-year plans? I mean, how much has changed on the back end in terms of just planning? How agile and nimble are you? How agile and nimble do you aspire to be in your 100th year?
So, as you rightly said, we're in a complex, volatile world, and it's just an age, and digitization has only increased the clock speed of these changes. And again, these things don't happen on a sudden. They've been increasing level of amplitude over a period of time, and it's a momentum. So it's not that we've not been able to. We've been adjusting, even in COVID, which I was not here, but and I was in China at that time. But I know that we were, as HUL, we came up enough, the best we could have been in terms of agility. We were tested in every way, whether we could, 20,000 of our people and a few 100,000 of our ecosystem could work remotely. And I think we didn't miss a heartbeat. That just showed you the resilience, and that taught us also the value of agility. So we are, I believe supply chain, which I must, credit and salute, is one of our biggest strengths. So I think we are pretty agile in that sense. Insofar as bringing trends and new products to the market is concerned, we spoke about the clock speed of our innovations and how we have to react to signals from the market has to increase because the market is getting more and more, clock speed is changing, so we got to change as well, and in fact be faster. And that's an ongoing journey. And internally, as we are nearly a 60,000 crore business with 16 clusters and 16 category businesses. We've got to operate as a big company in some things like legal, regulatory, our enterprise IT backbone. But we've also got to learn to operate as 16 companies in 16 clusters. And that is the journey we are on. And how do we become this a big company that can also move fast? Somebody challenged me that, listen, you can never be as fast as a startup, and I agree. But he also said at the same time, you can be faster.
Money. You're making money.
Indeed. And and we will continue doing that. But we can be very much faster than what we are today, which is still what we want to be. So it's an ongoing journey to be agile and speedy.
You talked about agility and you talked about 16 clusters operating independently, but also working towards a common goal. How do you, and HUL, of course, has prided itself on being the CEO factory of the country, or of the world. There's a whole book about it as well. So how do you, at this point in time, foster collaboration and yet foster competition at the same time? What's the playbook?
So I should have used the word empowered and interdependence, because at 16 by 16, for instance, 16 categories, 16 clusters, so they got to work together. To your question around how do you create that level of collaboration, because this is a belief system, and certainly I know that the best teams can deliver great results around 3 areas. So alignment. When companies align strategically, so we know the 5 things we must really do very well. When we align operationally, the processes are all talking to each other in the right way. And when we align socially, which means the teams love working for each other, with each other. It's like have fun. That is when you get the best. That doesn't mean it's you should agree with each other all the time or consensus. It means collaboration, which is constructive confrontation to get a better solution. And I think it's really constantly looking for that kind of team spirit is what makes a successful team. And this is our constant mission in this company to be a place where people are proud to work as a collective and be a winning team, not as individuals.
So 60,000 crores, what's the next milestone that you aspire for? And, what's the visibility that you have in being able to get to that next milestone, whatever the number may be?
I think like I said, India is on a great growth trend, and we will aspire to continue to gain market share and grow in a robust fashion and continue to create value for our shareholders. And you see, we've been here 90 years, and we are going to grow with the country.
Rohit Jawa, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very, very much for joining us here at Lessons in Marketing Excellence Season 15. Appreciate your time, and we wish you the very best of luck as you build out HUL for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
Thank you,
for
Shereen.
Rohit Jawa.
Thank you.
CNBC-TV18 Hindustan Unilever Limited present L.I.M.E Season 15.
All right, folks, it's showtime now. But before we move on, I must mention that this wasn't easy, and from a total of over 2,500, and we are down to 4. So a big round of applause. All right, before we dive into the lineup of exciting presentations, it is essential to first comprehend the case study that forms the basis of all these presentations. To shed more light on today's theme, ONDC, Democratizing Digi-Commerce for India, we have with us Aditya Kashyap, General Manager, Home and Hygiene at Unilever. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor and privilege to be introducing the finale of L.I.M.E Season 15 to all of you. As is always the theme with L.I.M.E, and especially in the finale, we always push young minds to solve problems that are far bigger and more important for the country and for the society. And it couldn't be more apt that for the finale, we've chosen ONDC, the Open Network for Digitizing Commerce. And the two key aspects of what the finale teams will be speaking about today from a case study point of view are, number one, they need to come up with ideas to get more merchants onto ONDC. So how do you convince more shopkeepers? How do you convince more retailers to jump into ONDC? And what's the value proposition for that? And that's part one of what they'll be presenting in their submissions. So the second part of the case presentation today from each team, second problem statement, will be about what's the value proposition to get more consumers to start using ONDC through, as a front end into digital shopping. Looking forward to a really, really great finale. So all the best to all of you, and over to you.
All right, let's set the ball rolling, and with huge round of applause, let's welcome our first team, Team Growth Catalyst from ISB. Your time starts now.
Kirana is king. India is a country of shopkeepers. We have one retailer for every 120 people. With such a big thing at stake, we wanted to first understand three things. What is the issue? Why is it an issue? And how can we solve it? To understand this, we met sellers across Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities. Conversations with these sellers and other stakeholders made us realize three things. First, sellers are as diverse as customers. India is, in fact, many sellers. Number two, Tier 1 sellers are well serviced, and Tier 2 sellers face shortage in SKU stocking. Number three, Tier 2 city sellers have started to realize the hidden sales because of dark stores coming up. We decided that the target audience of the Shikhar Seller app should start with Tier 2 city sellers and swiftly move into Tier 1. Winning in many Indias for sellers, with the tagline, Apni Dukaan, Apni Pehchan, Shikhar se bechiye aur ONDC pe jeetiye. With features ranging from AI-enabled Shikhar se baat to clear offers and a gamified platform, we believe this will be a game changer.
Now let's look at the opportunities for ONDC here. Implementing a loyalty program that can incentivize consistent use of the buyer app can help with customer loyalty. By offering vernacular language support, we can cater to the 30% who prefer local language over English, enhancing user experience and accessibility. We can also look at increasing the serviceability of Kirana stores beyond 6 kilometers so that people can buy from their favorite Kiranas. Moreover, regionalizing the app to align with local demands and preferences can further personalize the user experience. Moving on to our next big leap, the WhatsApp integration. Imagine tapping a message from your local trusted store and landing right in their WhatsApp-based shop. It's quick, with a familiar interface, and offers everything from browsing to order tracking. Our value proposition is clear: bringing the local experience online anytime. The end-to-end journey is not just about buying, it's about a smooth, engaging shopping experience from start to launch. Thank you.
What is the retailer value proposition that you're trying to bring alive? Do you think identity crisis is the big issue for the retailer? Because that's what this is coming out to be. And what makes you convinced that identity crisis is the reason the retailer's value prop will get strengthened?
So we don't believe that identity crisis is the concern here. We want a retailer to feel empowered. ONDC could be a platform where a retailer can take a step ahead and make their own brand. So these quick commerce, we did a survey and we understood that tier 1 cities, retailers are especially hit hard by the Swiggies and Zomato and Blinkits of the world. So actually giving them a platform where they can compete with such quick commerce apps and actually create an identity for themselves is the need for an hour. And that's why we created the value proposition, Apni Dukaan, Apni Pehchan.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Next up, we have Team Limelight from IIM Kolkata, and your time starts now.
ONDC has immense potential when it comes to leveling the field for the Kirana Walas. The unbundled protocol of ONDC provides the sellers more control over their online businesses. But there are quite a few barriers when it comes to going online. The first one being that of technical capabilities. The next are the need of skilled labor, access to credit, inventory management, and cataloging the products well. There's also a psychological barrier of lack of trust in the parties helping them in their journey to go online. Add to that the high upfront costs and the commissions. But what if HUL, the brand that the retailers trust, was to handhold them in this journey of going online on ONDC? The existing retailer-facing app of HUL, Shikhar, could have a module called the Shikhar Seller, which helps the retailers go online and sell their catalog of products. We believe that for Shikhar Seller, the early adopters would be the Kirana Walas already on the app. They are aware of the technology and have the province to be the early adopters for this. We see potential in Shikhar Seller to be adopted in the metro and tier 1 to 4 cities.
Aap aur Shikhar, ab pahunche har ghar. This embodies our proposition to handhold our Kirana Walas through their digital journey and empower them to increase their sales. To address the barriers that my teammate Neha mentioned, we propose 3 USPs to onboard sellers: inventory and cataloging support measures, leveraging the existing sales representative network of HUL, and zero onboarding fees coupled with lesser commission rates.
We have formulated an AEIOU framework to assess opportunities for ONDC and the buyer apps, focusing on accessibility, efficiency, making the user journey more intuitive, ensuring a cohesive omni-channel experience, and providing a truly unbundled service.
Our vision is to increase adoption and repeat rates and to decrease grievances and average steps to checkout.
I have a question for you. I absolutely loved the very logical and simple thinking that you had.
Yes.
You went from the need scope to understanding why it should be done, how it should be done, and you have landed it well. I have only one question for you.
Sure.
Why should a buyer, any of those 4 personas, keep coming back to you instead of going to anything else that's available to them today?
Yes.
What is it that you offer through ONDC protocol that others don't?
Yes, sir. So the competition analysis that we did, right? We realized that apps today have, or most quick commerce apps today have targeted a very specific persona. Say for quick commerce apps, mostly working professionals and college students. Be it, say for big baskets, it's mostly homemakers. But our aim over here was to choose the right set of features. No matter what the consumer persona is, he finds what he needs on our app. So we believe that with that in our center, not a particular target audience that we just want to grab and bring it to our app, our vision is we started the vision of increasing adoption rates and repeat rates. So all the right combinations of features is what our USP is and which will help people stay on the platform. That's why no fancy just initial discounts or just initial offers. We want to build a platform which is sustainable in itself. So that was our vision for this. Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie.
All right, we would now like to call the next team on stage. Team TSR from XLRI. And your time starts now.
So through digitization, there's a huge potential for market expansion by marketing and selling niche products to very specific consumers. Now, ONDC is able to do this by onboarding very local kirana stores into the digital ecosystem, and because it is a democratized system, it allows them to be viable in this ecosystem, which was earlier only for e-tailers. Now, how HUL can benefit from this? HUL has a huge potential to onboard its own local products to these kirana stores that are now onboarded onto the ONDC platform, and they would be able to sell these local products in regional areas to niche customers at a relative scale which they would have not been able to do so before. So considering that, what would our sample sellers look like? Our sample sellers are mostly, and at least for the short term, mid-sized kirana stores in tier 1 and tier 2 cities. Our value proposition includes two major points. One is simplicity and the other is scale. Our key tagline is "Shikhar hai to fikar nahi." You just focus on selling. Everything else is decentralized and would be handled by the platform.
Through our survey, we found out that the the people who need groceries today, as well as the people who need it instantaneously, shop from kirana stores the most. And we further tried to understand the set preferences and why these consumers were not shopping online for groceries in tier 1 and 2 cities. So the top reasons included there was no quality assurance, no reliable information and feedback of sellers, unavailability of local products, and absence of a khata system. So we suggested a khata system wherein customers can get, say, about 3,000 to 5,000 rupees monthly in their wallet and are asked to pay that amount at the end of the month, which would allow a similar experience that they get from a khata or a local kirana store. Thank you so much.
I loved your presentation. Very, very good, yeah. First, let me tell you what I loved about it. You know, the khata system that you talked about. The biggest thing, the consumer go to that kirana store because he have a khata. In fact, a lot of countries are using that khata as a new credit system for getting bank loans and everything, because people don't have any credit or any civil score and everything. But the shopkeepers have that credit system. This woman always pays me back. So I know that there is amazing trust of the person, and I love it.
Thank you so much.
CNBC-TV18 Hindustan Unilever Limited present L.I.M.E Season 15.
All right, last but not the least, we now have team Calcium Oxide from IIM Bangalore.
Through ONDC, we are trying to democratize and decentralize of the digital e-commerce space in India. So how we have gone about it is, first we try to gain an understanding of how e-commerce and HUL and ONDC operate. This was further supplemented by the on-ground realities of our consumers and sellers. Further, we plotted the value chain to gain an end-to-end understanding of how everything is working and where there are white spaces and opportunities where we can contribute. With this, we brainstormed our solutions to create a system where everyone is included and everyone has some kind of shared value.
So now we are trying to meet these sellers where they are, because HUL is all about doing that. Our idea is to own our online presence, selling local, reaching global through ONDC and Shikhar seller. What's the value? Seller will get one Shikhar account to gain their presence everywhere through ONDC. Decentralized e-commerce is the idea
to get the sellers that they own the product, own their customers, and own their profits. As we are going through the phase-wise onboarding plan, we aim to increase our sellers initially through the initial Shikhar sellers registered. Then the 10 million sellers that we target will be onboarded through Kirana associations, NGOs, and outreach programs. Our goal is to give them some incentives. In the rural areas where they face the crisis of limited infrastructure, we will first of all reach them through hub and spoke model. Like we will ensure transparency of sellers to make them feel locally about it. We will commoditize the offering to smaller packets. We will allow flexible delivery options, and a lot of price comparison will be done through ONDC.
Now, once we onboarded the consumers, we thought what would be the long haul of this potential that this site would provide. And one of the major factors that we found out was on this, the buyer side app integration that would be integrating both seller and buyer side on one platform and closing this whole chain. So it would be a mine of data and insights that could be used for further personalizing products. So bargaining is something that can be done as a gamification model to increase consumer engagement in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because we feel that one thing that connects all these tiers in Indian cities is the FOMO. So when you would feel this, and this would lead to positive side network effects.
One of the barriers seems to be cataloging, right, with Kiranas. So how are you tackling that?
When we look at online websites, they are generally, you have a lot of products and you are not actually associated to sellers. While on ONDC, you are ordering from sellers and not ordering the range of products. So what we are proposing is, what we are thinking of is that we can have multiple sellers. So there is a kind of aggregator model where a delivery partner can collect from multiple stores in a hyperlocal setting and then deliver it to the customer.
As we conclude all the presentations and await the results, all right, we now take the opportunity to engage with our esteemed jury. I would like to invite Aditya Kashyap, General Manager Home and Hygiene at Unilever, back on stage, and the jury members to join him for the panel conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us back after a super exhilarating case study presentation across from all our finalists. I'm going to start with you, Koshi sir. The question that I'd love for you to tell us on is, in this fourth transformative journey that you've taken on, which is to digitize commerce in India, what do you think are the top enablers as to why you think the next 100, 200 million consumers will actively shift into this form of shopping and through ONDC? What would be the big enablers for ONDC in its journey going forward, sir?
The thing that is very exciting about ONDC is the possibilities. If you look at the current way of doing digital commerce, fantastic work has been done by many platforms. But their focus naturally would be to maximize the interest of their shareholders. They look for the low-hanging fruit, most attractive thing, and so on and so forth. Which would mean that the extent of participation is limited by the imagination of few. Whereas in an open network, it gives humongous possibilities for diverse segments of buyer application, seller application, logistics providers, building blocks of commerce to become a possible avenue for innovation, which we can't even think. Whereas here, he have a very interesting possibility of being there and still succeed or fail based on his capability.
Anchit, ONDC seeks to bring multiple retailers into the digital shopping ecosystem. How do you view, ONDC's proposition from the perspective of Nykaa, which is a preferred e-commerce destination today?
So if I look at India's beauty and per capita spend on an annualized basis, it's about $15, which is the lowest in the world. So Indians actually spend the least on BPC anywhere in the world, and it's very low per capita spend. On top of that, online only accounts for 10% of the total BPC spend in the country. So it is a very, very early days for India. So we believe that networks like ONDC and platforms like ourselves will have to accelerate the growth of the category and bring more consumers into the funnel together. And I think ONDC is best placed to do that because of the way it is being created. And the consumer journey is also very different. There's a very different value proposition for somebody like for a consumer to shop on a platform like Nykaa versus on an open platform. It's a different consumer journey. I think there is massive opportunity for us to work together and also jointly help to digitize and bring more people into the ecosystem of beauty as well as online.
Hepzibah, in your experience in so many decades and with Ogilvy, and when you've heard our top teams in the finale present their value proposition ideas on ONDC, in your journey, when a brand team comes to you and speaks about a value proposition, what are the things that you see, right? What are the things that excites you?
And I think fundamentally in a value proposition as a creative agency, when we look at some strong value propositions, sometimes they come from the client, sometimes we co-create it with the client. If there's something a little more singular, if it's simple, it has to be simple. And if it has the space for storytelling. I think that's important, the space for storytelling, because it has to be an enduring proposition. And I think that's important for us to say that, that's a rich space, with fertile space, where we can have, many possibilities. And for creative people, actually, when we take the value proposition to creative people, we also have to create a bridge for them, because from the value proposition come triggers. So then we bring triggers, and if you have a good trigger, that's when the bomb goes off in the creative guy's head, because that's a good trigger is the equivalent of an explosion, and then it demands that you create a really exciting and an original solution.
If I could move on to Kedar, could you elaborate a bit on the Shikhar and ONDC partnership, and what roles can firms like HUL and maybe other firms really play in ONDC's journey in in revolutionizing digital commerce?
Three things one has to think about. One, we live in a country where there are 11 million neighborhood stores which are serving the needs of 1.4 billion consumers, and we got to be able to make them future fit if they have to survive and thrive in these times of transformation. Who will do this? Companies such as HUL, because we work at scale across the length and breadth of the country. Third, what kind of products and brands do we engage ourselves in? We are known for making aspirations accessible. We are the epitome of democratization. And hence, we compete with other brands in an open environment and win every time shoppers step out to buy products of their needs and wants. And we want to compete in those. So what does Shikhar do? Number one, it makes retailers compete with all the walled gardens of digitized commerce in a manner that retailers could be future fit, as I said. Second, it allows them to become comfortable with digital means so that they can start selling when an ONDC equivalent protocol comes calling. So when the whole floor starts raising, everyone is able to sail well. And third is, because we are an organization of scale, we could invest in it for a long time.
And go to Raj Deepak, right? Any key points for marketeers, our finalists, and the marketeers who are watching this telecast, right, to make their brand stand out even more as things get more fragmented from your experience?
No consumer get up in the morning saying, I'm going to use this paste, I'm going to use this brand, I'm going to use these drinks, I'm going to use this soap. No one does that. If you think as a marketer you're going to do that, no one cares about your brands. Why you exist in my life is the most important thing. A brand has to work towards it. And that's where the magic comes. What problem you solve in my life? And I think that's the most big thing that brands sometimes forget about it. The brands that are successful are actually they change things to make you feel, yeah, you understand me. Make me believe how you impact billions of people's life as a brand and why you exist in my life. And of course, now with ONDC coming out, it's a simple thing. Technology is what you make out of it. And we saw that today. I think 4 different teams presented 4 different ideas having the same structure in the center of it. I think that's the brilliant way of seeing it, what the possibilities of marketers can do. What human problem you're solving. If you're not doing that, you're not going to sell anything.
If I could move over to Srinandan. Now, as ONDC becomes bigger and bigger, any tips on how brand builders should be looking to build their brands using the network protocol of ONDC that you can give to our audience?
So the simple philosophy is go where the party is. And ONDC is going to be the next big party of a lot of people coming together. And if we get sizable consumers in a particular ecosystem, it does make the job of mental reach easier because it comes at lower cost. That's number one. Number two, in all our premiumization journey that we are trying to drive as HUL, we are constrained by solving for needs because the LSM, the higher affluent consumers, has become a need. But the wants in smaller towns are not economically viable to place and sell. So the beauty of this is the network like this will allow people to discover more offerings. I think it will really help us, companies like HUL, unlock the many small brands that we're trying to build. What will take 5 years will actually end up taking 2-3 years.
Thank you so much again to the esteemed jury for taking your time and being with us on L.I.M.E.
I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Rajdeepak Das and Mr. Kedar Lele to kindly felicitate the third runner-up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the third runner-up of the contest, Growth Catalyst, Yashvi Dhruv Sumukh from ISB. I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Anchint and Mr. Srinandan to felicitate our second runners. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for second runner-up of L.I.M.E Season 15, Team TSR with Tanish, Shomil and Rishabh. All right, I would like to invite Mr. T. Koshi and Ms. Pathak to please felicitate the first runner-up. All right, the first runner-up of L.I.M.E Season 15 is Calcium Oxide with Midhavi, Anvesha, Sneha. A big round of applause. All right, and to felicitate the winners, may I request all the jury members to please come on stage. The winner of L.I.M.E Season 15, Pratiti, Snehashish, Neha from Team Limelight, IIM, Kolkata.
CNBC-TV18, Hindustan Unilever Limited present L.I.M.E Season 15. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.